Standing in the hallway, a girl with a rock for a face greets our hero while he reminds himself to treat women like stones. Surprised by the greeting, the young man responds while thinking about his weird but very firm life philosophy. During his days in elementary school, he was rejected by girls exactly 20 times, which was quite a lot for a kid. Every single time a girl turned him down, it happened in a different way, and that made him feel even worse about himself. Crying his eyes out after another failure, the little boy felt deeply hurt and lost all interest in trying again. Hiding in his room after losing all confidence, he decided to seek some special advice from a secret imaginary friend. Sitting on the floor, we see his tiny buddy named Jason, who was the only one there to help him feel better. Offering a strange solution, the small friend tells him to imagine every girl as a simple stone from now on. Starting his mental training, the boy spent years repeating that girls were just rocks to protect his own heart. By the time he reached his first year of middle school, the training worked and he truly saw them as blocks of stone. Returning to the present day, the protagonist remembers that his buddy had a second piece of very important advice. While a sparkling rock girl asks for help with her studies, he reminds himself not to start any happy fantasies. Just because a girl is being nice or smiling does not mean she likes him, so he refuses to let his mind wander. Declining the offer politely, he says he is busy because he knows that getting his hopes up only leads to pain. Walking through the school feels much easier now that he views everyone as rocks, since he can finally talk to them. Walking through the school, the protagonist ignores the girls because they all look like gray stones to him. Looking back at his buff companion, he asks if he agrees with his weird way of living. Agreeing with a nod, the large man with a mustache listens to the explanation provided by his friend. Though he supports his buddy, the big guy worries the teenager will never find a girlfriend at this rate. Dismissing the concern, the student explains how he gave up on romance a long time ago and feels fine. Instead of being called a creep, he prefers seeing people as rocks for the last 5 years of his life. Accepting the answer, the friend watches as the glasses boy heads home while walking down the street. Suddenly someone calls out to him, which makes the young man stop in his tracks and look back. Reaching out a hand, a mysterious person holds a smartphone that was left on the ground recently. Speaking softly, the stranger mentions how the device was dropped just a moment before on the floor. Turning around, he sees a beautiful girl instead of a statue, and she asks if the item is his. Staring in shock, the main character cannot believe what his eyes are showing him right now. Realizing the situation is strange, he looks closer and feels his heart start to race faster. Confused by the view, he wonders why this specific student is not turned into stone like the others. Panic sets in because it has been 5 years since he actually looked at a girl's real face. Panicking internally, the main character tries to keep his cool while his heart races at the sight of the girl. Staring back at him with a confused look, she wonders why this guy is suddenly frozen and not saying a single word. Sweat begins to drip down his face as he realizes it has been way too long since he last talked to a real human girl. Suddenly the words just slip out of his mouth and he tells her that she looks really pretty right in front of everyone. Realizing what he just blurted out, the boy stands there with a completely shocked expression while his brain short circuits. Blushing deeply from the unexpected compliment, the girl can only make a small sound because she is totally surprised. Handing over the phone, she thanks him while the protagonist feels incredibly awkward about the situation he just created. Immediately running away like a track star, he hears her shouting a thank you and an apology from behind him. Standing alone in the schoolyard, the young lady is left wondering what in the world just happened with that weird boy. Screaming at himself while sprinting, the teenager named Jin-young thinks he is a total idiot for being so bold. Cursing his own lack of social skills, he can't believe he called a complete stranger pretty during their first meeting. Terrified of the potential gossip, he worries that people will start talking about his embarrassing mistake at school. Transitioning to a view of some tall apartment buildings, the scene shifts to his home later that same day. Sitting inside, a buff man with a mustache tells the kid that his confession was actually quite sweet and charming. Feeling discouraged, the boy hides his face while his muscular friend tries to cheer him up after the long day. Looking quite confused, the student wonders why only that girl appears normal while everyone else looks like stone statues. Staring back, the buff mustache man says there is no way to be sure, so he asks what the next move should be. Worried about the future, the boy hears that weird rumors might start spreading if he chooses to do nothing at all. Remembering a past rejection, he recalls how a girl called him creepy and he fears that same thing will happen again. Despite all that hard training, the muscular mentor still worries that history might repeat itself despite their efforts. Feeling totally doomed, the glasses kid curls up on the floor while his big friend watches him suffer in silence. Suddenly a massive fist lands on the boy's head as the mentor yells out the name of his special punch. Rubbing his sore head, the student is told to stop losing his mind so he can focus on making a real plan. Offering a simple solution, the buff man suggests that avoiding the girl entirely is the best way to stay safe. Realizing they are in different classes, the young man thinks that hiding will be easy enough to stay out of trouble. Looking at the tall buildings, he decides that avoiding her is the only way to keep his cool and stay calm. Arriving at the big school, the protagonist prepares for a normal day, hoping his plan to stay hidden actually works. Waving with a big smile, the beautiful girl appears out of nowhere and asks if he remembers her from before. Shocked to the core, the student freezes because he managed to run into his target almost immediately after arriving. Panicking internally, he asks for help while his mentor tells him to just stay calm and act like a normal person. Standing in front of the two girls, the main character decides to treat the beauty just like any ordinary stone person. When the girl reveals that he called her pretty the day before, the atmosphere in the hallway changes instantly. Hearing this news, the stone friend becomes extremely shocked while the popular student admits she was also very surprised. Pushing up his glasses, the young man simply asks what they want while keeping a very serious and cold expression. Striking a cute pose, the beauty asks if she looks just as beautiful today, but the boy does not seem to care at all. While someone nearby laughs and asks if he has lost his mind, the protagonist remains completely silent and focused. Turning around quickly, the boy starts running away at full speed, leaving the confused girls behind in the hall. Thinking it was a smart move, the student believes staying any longer would only lead to more trouble and bad situations. Walking away with determination, the boy tells himself not to waver because that laugh felt like a mean joke to him. Keeping a stern face, he reminds himself not to have any weird hopes about this girl even if she is very attractive. Looking back with a confused face, the beauty watches him leave while the boy vows to never see her again in his life. Looking up at the clear blue sky, it seems like his plan would work perfectly except for one very big problem. Walking through the crowd of stone students, the girl stands out way too much for him to ignore her presence. Seeing him from a distance, the popular girl waves and says hello, which makes the boy realize he cannot escape her easily. Moving away as fast as possible, the protagonist decides that he must avoid her every single time their paths cross. Walking through the school hallway, the girl tries to say hello, but the boy just keeps moving ahead. Ignoring her completely, the glasses kid moves away as if she was invisible, making her feel quite confused. Looking back with a frustrated expression, the dark-haired classmate seems annoyed by how he keeps acting so strange. Reflecting on the long day, the protagonist is glad that he finally made it home without any major issues. Sighing deeply, the student thinks that dodging people is exhausting and decides he needs a better strategy. Staring at the ground, he wonders how his life became so complicated while walking down the street alone. Suddenly, the lady appears right in front of his face and calls out to him with a very loud voice. Jumping back in total shock, the boy is terrified as she asks if she actually managed to startle him. Trembling with nerves, the main character wonders why he keeps seeing her and wants to run away immediately. Getting closer to his face, the female asks if he is trying to escape from her once again today. Moving her lips with annoyance, she mentions how he always ignores her every single time she calls out. Listing all his weird behaviors, the girl asks if she did something wrong because he keeps avoiding her eyes. Calling him a total weirdo, she makes the young man freeze up in place because of her direct words. Panicking internally, the student realizes she has the wrong idea and needs to find an excuse very quickly. Stuttering a bit, the boy tries to explain his actions while she stares at him, waiting for a good answer. Looking around the crowd, the boy realizes everyone looks like a rock except for the girl standing before him. Standing in the street, he confesses that all other girls look like stones, but she is truly special. Watching her reaction, the young man waits as she stays quiet while the sun sets behind the tall buildings. Feeling confused, the protagonist wonders what he just said and suddenly remembers a voice calling out to Jason. Appearing in his mind, a man with a mustache looks very disappointed because of the weird line he just used. Staring back at him, the girl seems completely shocked by the strange comment she just heard from the student. Trembling with fear, his hand starts to shake while he realizes how awkward the situation has become right now. Sweating bullets, the nervous boy tries to keep it together as he regrets ever opening his mouth to speak. Looking closely at her face, a small smile starts to appear on her lips as if she found his words funny. Showing a gentle expression, the mysterious girl looks at him with kindness instead of being creeped out. Walking closer, she asks for his name and the guy stutters while revealing he is called Park Jin-young. Grabbing his tie suddenly, she pulls him in close and says she wants to share a little secret with him. Leaning into his ear, she whispers that his weird comment was actually a very smooth way of flirting with her. Hearing those words, the student stays frozen in place because he cannot believe she actually liked the line. Thinking back to when he was a small child, he recalls when an imaginary friend named Jason gave him some advice. Starting with the first rule, the protagonist tried to treat every girl like a piece of rock, but that plan failed badly. Moving to the second mission, he was told to never imagine a happy life with anyone because it leads to big trouble. Blushing like crazy, the student realizes this second attempt was also a total disaster as his heart races very fast. Visualizing a whole life together, he thinks about getting married and having kids until they both grow old and gray. Grabbing the young man, the big buff guy with a mustache complains about the messy situation they are in right now. Explaining the problem, the muscular man says seeing a real girl after 5 years made the boy lose his mind completely. Sitting on the floor, the student worries that he cannot run away anymore and asks for a new plan to survive school. Pointing his finger, the mentor says that having a clear goal is the most important thing during these tough times. Showing some statues, the man reminds him that seeing girls as stones allowed him to stay cool and ignore everyone. Thinking about the past, the kid remembers being called creepy by a girl and how that pain made him hide his feelings. Appearing suddenly, a beautiful girl who looks nothing like a rock ruined his defense and changed everything for him. Admitting the truth, the teacher says the boy is a loser with zero immunity to pretty faces, while the kid feels insulted. Realizing his mistake, the protagonist fears things will end poorly just like before, but his friend says there is a way. Suggesting a fix, the buff man says the only solution is to keep his composure no matter what happens with that girl. Arriving at the large school building, the story continues as the boy prepares to face his fears in the new semester. Looking very annoyed, the protagonist stares ahead while squinting his eyes through his round glasses. Nearby, a beautiful girl with long dark hair feels extremely nervous because of that intense gaze. Pointing him out, the friend in the yellow hoodie mentions that the boy is staring right at her. Actually, the student is just talking to a tiny muscular spirit about their weird desensitization plan. Discussing the strategy, the hero explains he needs to stop seeing girls as if they were just stones. Trying to look friendly, the teenager forces a smile that looks more like a scary villain from a movie. Seeing that terrifying expression, the poor girl gets even more scared and starts sweating from the pressure. Thinking it was a nice gesture, the cheerful friend says that the boy just gave her a sweet smile. Wondering about his behavior, the dark-haired girl asks if he really thinks they cannot see him staring. Shaking with effort, the protagonist believes he is too far away to be noticed while making that face. Turning around to leave, the boy decides to stop because his little companion warns him about the rumors. Watching him walk away, the quiet girl remains confused while she looks at his back in the hallway. Sharing some gossip, the friend explains that the guy is actually quite popular among the other female students. Walking together, they continue the conversation while the popular boy moves further into the distance. Hearing this news, the girl is surprised because people say he has zero interest in any romantic stuff. In class, the studious boy works hard and people think he is cool because he does not care about dating anyone at all. Two friends chat while wondering if the popular girl is interested since the guy was staring at her for a long time. Looking surprised, the black-haired beauty blushes and tries to deny that anything special is happening between them. Standing under the city sunset, the two students share a quiet moment that seems to linger in her mind even now. Smiling softly, the girl admits that something small is starting to bother her while she thinks about that encounter. Near the classroom, a voice calls out to Jason, who is currently dealing with some very strange problems. Feeling unsure, the student tells his tiny muscular friend that the current plan feels like a terrible idea for him. By staring at the girl all day, he hoped to get used to her face so he could finally stay calm around her presence. Looking very worried, the protagonist realizes that following someone around makes him look like a total creepy stalker. Resting his chin on his hands, the small spirit jokes that choosing between being a loser or a weirdo is a tough choice. Thinking quickly, the guy suggests checking her social media photos instead of watching her in person to save his image. Giving a big thumbs up, the tiny mentor tells the boy to just go and ask the girl for her account name directly. Sitting at the desk, the friend argues that snooping behind her back is even more pathetic than just being a loser. Trembling with nerves, the student holds out his phone and asks the girl if he can have her social media identity. Standing in the quiet hallway, the beautiful student looks at him with a neutral expression while the tension grows. Looking very friendly, the beautiful girl agrees to help him with a soft smile. Asking the boy to open the application, she says that she will type her contact information right now. Holding the device carefully, the young lady starts to check the profile while the nervous student watches. Suddenly the expression on her face changes because something on the screen looks very strange to her. Showing the digital page, we see that the account named Jin Young has 0 followers and 0 posts. Curious about the empty profile, the girl asks if he just created this brand new account today. Adjusting his glasses, the protagonist admits that he doesn't use social media and made it in a rush. Bursting into loud laughter, the classmate finds the situation hilarious while the boy stands there confused. Pointing at him, she realizes that she was the very first person he searched for after joining the app. Processing the information, the nerd stays silent and realizes how his actions might look to others. Panicking internally, the student understands that she is right and his plan was not very smart. Doubled over with laughter, the girl continues to tease him while he regrets his lack of planning. Feeling total despair, a muscular man appears in his mind and screams for help because everything is ruined. Trying to defend himself, the nervous teen shouts that it was just a coincidence because she was nearby. Ending the scene with another big laugh, the pretty girl seems to enjoy making fun of her new friend. Facing the girl, the protagonist looks confused while she just agrees with everything. Holding her phone, the girl asks if he wants her number and gives him a cheeky smile. Staring through his glasses, the young man is completely stunned by the sudden offer. Sweating a lot, he struggles to find the right words to say in this tense moment. Laughing loudly, the girl hits his shoulder and admits that she was only joking with him. Handing over the device, she explains that she followed him and returns his property. Walking away, she tells him to like all her posts while he stands there like a statue. Looking ahead silently, the student remains frozen because of the interaction he just had. Imagining a whole life, the boy sees himself marrying her and even having a family together. Shaking his head, he tries to stop those crazy thoughts from appearing in his mind again. Outside the apartment building, the night is quiet and some windows are still glowing bright. Lying on her bed, the popular girl scrolls through her phone while relaxing at home. Laughing at the screen, she wonders what kind of post she is looking at right now. Seeing the selfie, she thinks his photo sense is terrible because of his awkward pose. Resting in his blue pajamas, the guy finally goes to sleep after a very long day. It all starts when a notification pops up on the screen because a guy named Sunwoo liked a picture late at night. This one heart notification appears while everyone is resting inside the large apartment buildings. At school, Sookyung tells her friend that a boy named Jin Young actually asked for her social media account. The black-haired girl laughs and says he must be into her because he even made a brand new profile. While sitting at their desks, the two girls continue to gossip about the situation in the middle of class. Sookyung wonders if the rumors about him having 0 interest in girls are actually true or just a lie. Suddenly, the main guy walks past the window and the girls notice his presence immediately. Her friend suggests a plan to test his feelings right now so they can see his real reaction. Walking through the hallway, the student hears a loud shout and turns around to see what happened. Sookyung pretends to fall on the ground while surrounded by fake flowers to look cute for him. She acts like she is in pain and asks for help while winking to get his full attention. The boy with glasses looks at her with a very blank expression and says absolutely nothing at all. Feeling ignored, the girl turns gray and loses her spark because the plan is not working out. Instead of being romantic, he just grabs her hoodie and lifts her up like a heavy bag of trash. After dropping her back on her feet, the cold student just walks away without saying a single word. In the background, someone laughs loudly while the girl in the yellow hoodie looks totally shocked by the joke. The black-haired student cannot stop laughing because her friend was pulled up just like a tiny vegetable. Feeling very offended by the comparison, the teenager in the hoodie starts to curse under her breath. Moving to the school building, we see the daily life of these students as they continue their busy afternoon. While walking through the campus, the glasses guy wonders if he is finally getting used to seeing that beautiful face. Noticing his own reaction, he starts to blush heavily and feels his heart beating faster than usual. Looking at her photo on the phone screen, he realizes that every single time feels totally unique and strange. The tiny muscular man on his shoulder suggests they find the main reason behind these weird feelings he has. Narrowing his eyes behind the lenses, the boy asks himself why she is the only person who does not look like a rock. Suddenly stopping in his tracks, he begins to form some crazy theories about why this girl is so special to him. Just ahead, the dark-haired girl seems worried while looking around and wonders what her friend is doing there. Turning her head quickly, the young student suddenly spots someone approaching her from the side of the road. Caught by surprise, the protagonist jumps when he hears his name called out by the very person he was thinking about. Making an awkward expression, the poor guy feels extremely nervous and tries to hide his embarrassment. Standing near the gate, she explains that she needs to go home but sadly forgot to bring her bus fare today. While standing outside, the girl asks the glasses guy where he lives and he mentions a nearby apartment complex. Confused by her reaction, the boy says the place is right there, but she claims getting home is actually quite hard. Looking a bit shy, the young lady stares back while the atmosphere between them starts to feel a little bit strange. Shaking her head, she reveals that she suffers from a health condition and the student does not know what to say. Trying to be helpful, the protagonist pulls out all his cash and offers it so she can take the bus instead of walking. Laughing at the gesture, she rejects the money and suggests that he should just walk her home to keep her safe. Without waiting for an answer, she starts leading the way and tells him to follow her quickly to the destination. Completely shocked by the sudden turn of events, the nerd stands there with a very surprised face. As the sun begins to set over the city buildings, the two of them start their journey together through the streets. Walking side by side, the girl talks non-stop while her companion simply listens to her endless stories. Blushing hard, the student realizes he cannot even focus on her words because he is way too nervous right now. Turning to him, she asks if he is actually paying attention and he thinks about how crazy this situation feels. Even though they are walking together, the boy feels very awkward and uncomfortable being so close to her. Remembering his past, he thinks about another time he walked with a girl and ended up catching feelings for her. Suddenly, some other kids spot them together and start asking why the two are hanging out in public like that. Back in school, some kids are being teased and the girl yells that there is no way she is dating that nerd. Looking very shocked, the boy hears her say that nobody would ever want to date someone like him. Walking all alone, the boy explains that after that day she stopped going home with him and their bond just ended. Now older and wearing glasses, the teenager feels totally awkward and just wants this situation to be over quickly. Thinking about how she usually takes the bus, he believes this weird meeting won't happen ever again. Turning his head with a confused face, the student hears a strange noise coming from right behind him. Sitting on the ground while breathing heavily, the girl named Young Sunwoo looks like she is about to pass out. Running toward her, the young man asks if she fell down or tripped while walking up the street. Complaining about the steep road, the girl mentions her chronic sickness while the boy just listens to her. Reaching out her hand, she asks for some help to walk and the protagonist agrees despite the past. Lifting the girl up slowly, they decide to walk at a much calmer pace so she can recover her breath. Realizing he is holding her hand, the boy gets nervous while the female student says she feels very dizzy. Looking quite exhausted and red in the face, the girl keeps breathing hard as they move together. Walking away, the protagonist feels like his brain is starting to replay old memories from a long time ago. Gripping a tiny girl by the back of her hoodie, the tall student carries her around like she is a little toy. Laughing happily, the young girl covers her mouth while enjoying the awkward moment. Teasing him about pulling someone like a vegetable, she watches the boy get totally flustered. Surprised by the sudden mention of her home, he can only let out a small sound of realization. Waving goodbye, the two students head their separate ways after the long and tiring walk. Sighing with relief, the student thinks about how awkward and weird the whole situation felt. Hoping things change tomorrow, the guy wishes she finally gets some money for the bus ride. Walking away alone, he decides it is time to stop having these strange and silly fantasies. Moving further apart, the pair disappears into the sunset while the street stays quiet. Stopping suddenly, the girl realizes she missed a very important detail before leaving. Smiling mischievously, the pretty student turns back because she almost forgot one thing. Shouting his name loudly, she makes the poor guy jump in fear as he tries to walk home. Turning around with a tired face, the boy listens as she mentions her lack of money again. Leaning close while blushing, she tells him that she will rely on his help again tomorrow. Feeling dizzy and overwhelmed, the young man starts sweating from all the social pressure. Appearing out of nowhere, a buff man questions if he truly wants this to end so quickly. Looking quite strange while walking outside, the teenager makes a very awkward face that confuses everyone around him. Suddenly, a weird sound makes the boy stop in his tracks while he looks around to see what happened on the street. Finding the girl sitting on the floor, the protagonist sees her breathing very hard while looking totally exhausted. Asking if she is okay, the young man tells her to just sit down and rest after running way too much for her own good. Practicing some low kicks the next day, a classmate tells her friend that she wants to beat up the main character soon. Sitting in the room, the muscular mentor asks why that specific girl is the only person who does not look like a stone. Thinking deeply about the situation, the student tries to come up with his strongest theory to explain this mystery. Looking at each other, the two friends discuss why the beauty appears so different from all the other girls at school. Staring into the distance, the teenager remains silent while he processes everything that happened during his long day. Opening his mouth slowly, the boy struggles to find the right words while the giant man waits for a real answer. Wondering if that really is the only reason, the buff guy admits he cannot think of any other explanation for it. Grabbing his black backpack, the student decides to end the conversation so he can finally head out to his classes. Walking through the door, the protagonist prepares himself to face another day at school with all those rock people. Hearing a voice from the side, the young man looks back when someone asks if he is leaving for the morning shift. Standing in the hallway, an older man stares at him while the boy simply acknowledges that his father is right there. Walking out the door, his father asks if he slept well, but the boy just bows without saying much. Worried about his son, the man asks about breakfast, but the teenager says he will skip it since he lacks an appetite. Even after hearing that his mother made some delicious stew, the student insists on eating only when he returns home. Giving a final warning to eat properly, the father watches as the young man agrees and prepares to start his long day. Leaving the house with a heavy heart, the protagonist looks quite nervous while stepping outside into the morning air. Adjusting his glasses, the main character feels sweat on his face because the social pressure of school is already too much. Approaching the large school building, the glasses kid talks to his tiny muscular mentor about a very strange new theory. Feeling doomed, the student asks if he must follow the girl's every command while his small buddy says it cannot be helped. Stepping forward, a mysterious person approaches while the mentor tells the worried teenager to just stay calm and relax. Suddenly, a voice calls out his full name and the boy turns around with a very surprised look on his face. Standing right there, the girl in the yellow hoodie looks very annoyed while she blocks his path in the middle of the hall. Looking directly at him, she threatens to strike the poor guy, and he can only wonder why she is so angry at his actions. Totally confused, the protagonist asks for a reason since he has no idea what he did to upset this classmate today. Explaining her plan, she says she practiced fighting all night just to hurt him, and the boy asks who she actually is. Recalling the moment she felt humiliated in Chapter 3, she remains bitter about the time he treated her like a vegetable. Holding her by the hood, the young man says he cannot forgive her behavior as they stand in the room. Showing 3 fingers, the girl suggests a deal where he takes 3 kicks to settle the score right now. Behind those glasses, the boy wonders why he should ever agree to such a painful and weird punishment. Screaming at the top of his lungs, the nerd gets hit while the girl calls him a jerk for trying to argue. Down the hallway as fast as possible, the hero tries to escape while the girl watches from behind. Because she is a very fast runner, the energetic student mentions she has plenty of energy for a chase. Looking back with a terrified face, the boy realizes he is being pursued and starts to panic even more. Like a wild animal, the girl moves through the hall with incredible speed and determination to catch him. Trembling with fear, the protagonist compares her to a giant rolling boulder that is about to crush him. Suddenly grabbing him by the shoulder, the girl celebrates her victory and says she caught the little punk. Preparing her leg for a strike, she aims low while the boy can only watch his impending doom approaching. Facing the incoming attack, the young man makes a funny face while waiting for the painful impact to happen. Out of a nearby room, the black-haired beauty asks why everyone is being so loud in the school building. Swinging her leg with too much power, the girl accidentally hits the newcomer instead of her target. Deeply shocked, the poor victim can only gasp as the unexpected strike lands squarely on her leg. Observing the chaotic scene, the girl in the yellow hoodie stands there with her mouth wide open in total shock. While lying on the cold floor, the popular girl groans in pain because she actually managed to hurt her ankle ligament. Hearing the cry of pain, the protagonist turns around so quickly that he loses his balance and starts to stumble. Slipping on the smooth tiles, his foot loses its grip while he tries to reach out and help the injured student. Falling forward with zero grace, the poor boy crashes into the ground right next to the girl who is already hurt. Landing directly on his face, the impact is so strong that he unfortunately ends up with a fractured nasal bone. Looking down at the pair of students on the floor, their friend feels incredibly guilty for the mess she caused. Sweating from the intense pressure, the teenager realizes that her little joke went way too far this time around. Apologizing repeatedly, the girl leads them to the school nurse office to get some treatment for their injuries. Resting on separate beds, the 2 students stay quiet while the boy wears a large bandage over his swollen nose. Breaking the silence, the black-haired girl mentions how her friend is always a bit weird but says she is fine. Staring at the ceiling, the protagonist realizes that he is once again alone with the girl of his dreams. Appearing in a vision, the mustache man drinks tea while warning the kid not to act like a total loser again. Nervously sweating behind his glasses, the young man remembers the advice about staying cool and composed. Lying down and looking thoughtful, the beauty tells herself to stay calm so she does not say anything stupid. Relaxing on a hospital bed, the beautiful girl asks Jin Young if he knows what is for lunch today. Thinking carefully, the student answers that he believes they are serving fried fish for the meal. Sitting in the nurse office, she asks if the young man eats breakfast before coming to school each day. Looking away, she admits that being near her father feels awkward, so she leaves the house very early. Offering some friendly advice, the dark-haired student tells him that he should try to bond with his parent. Staring closely through his glasses, the boy listens as she mentions another friend named Sukyung. Remembering the past, he recalls the very first words he ever said to the popular girl in school. Reflecting on that moment, the teenager thinks he only said she was pretty because he was lonely back then. Looking at her now, he realizes that his first impression was right and she actually is gorgeous. Noticing his direct gaze, the girl asks if she is truly that pretty and leaves the protagonist totally stunned. Waving his hands in panic, the nervous student tries to deny everything while she laughs at him. Smiling brightly, she says it was just a joke, but his heart starts racing faster than a fast car. Moving her legs slightly, the girl mentions how much fun she has whenever she teases him like this. Sitting on the separate beds, the glasses kid asks for a better explanation of her sudden words. Making a funny face, the boy hears that he always says weird things whenever he gets flustered. Laughing at the nervous boy, the girl tells him there is no need to apologize because she finds him very funny and cute. Showing a bright smile, the beautiful student says that his awkward behavior is actually quite adorable to see. Blushing like crazy, the teenager wonders if his imaginary mentor was actually right about this strange girl. Sitting in his room, he thinks about a theory for why this female student is the only one who looks human to him. Looking very serious, the muscular spirit prepares to reveal the true reason behind these confusing feelings. Suddenly, a memory flashes by showing how the boy fell for the girl at first sight when they were in the nurse office. Wearing a fancy suit, the buff friend drinks tea while claiming that he can only think about this theory right now. Back in that room, the two students sit on separate beds while the boy feels his heart race for the very first time. Returning to reality, the large school building stands under a clear blue sky as another day begins for the students. Holding a girl in a yellow hoodie, the protagonist prepares to teach her a lesson for trying to trick him earlier. Standing nearby, the dark-haired beauty tells him that he must take responsibility for his actions toward her friend. Charging forward with a determined look, the popular girl prepares to strike while the boy stays completely frozen. Launching a powerful middle kick, the girl hits her target while the glasses kid tries to understand what is happening. Falling back in total shock, the young man wonders why he was the one who got hurt during this chaotic moment. Standing alone in the dark, the student asks himself if he really experienced love at first sight with that girl. Standing alone with her back turned, Sunwoo appears in a dark space while the hero watches the scene silently. Whispering with a cold voice, she mentions how he started to imagine happy things just because she was being kind. Turning around with a look of pure disgust, the girl calls him a pathetic loser, which cuts deep into his heart. Waking up suddenly in his bed, the boy is covered in sweat and looks completely terrified by that horrible vision. Breathing fast and looking pale, the student realizes it was all just a nightmare, but he still feels very shaken. Sitting nearby in matching blue pajamas, the muscular friend named Jason notices that his buddy is acting strange. Staring at his desk, the young man explains he dreamed about the girl hating him more than anything else in the world. Looking concerned, the mentor asks if his old trauma regarding girls is starting to haunt his mind once again. Describing the situation, the protagonist mentions he has been having this same scary dream almost every single night lately. Thinking about the cause, the boy admits these visions began right when he realized he might actually like the girl. Grinning slightly, the big man claims that if those feelings are real, then this is a clear case of one-sided love. Sitting quietly on the bed, the student listens while his friend points out that he is clearly feeling a lot of fear. Giving a thumbs up, the mentor quotes some old wisdom about knowing the enemy to win every future battle. Walking through the school hall with his tiny companion, the nerd decides it is time to learn more about the girl. Thinking deeply, the teenager agrees that this new plan is perfect and the small buddy feels very relieved. Arriving at classroom 2-5, the protagonist wonders if this is where the popular girl stays during her school day. Feeling extremely nervous, the student enters the room while his tiny muscular companion tells him to stay calm and brave. Inside the room he sees many students, but they all look like gray stone statues due to his unique way of seeing the world. Noticing that the beauty is missing from her desk, he wonders if she just went to the washroom for a quick moment. Suddenly a loud voice calls out to him and catches him totally by surprise as he stands there alone in the middle of the room. Standing in his way, a student named Juman, who is 18 years old, claims that the chair belongs to him. Completely shocked by the newcomer, the glasses boy feels caught off guard by the sudden and rude confrontation. After moving aside quickly, the protagonist apologizes and lets the large student take his place at the wooden desk. From his shoulder, the muscular spirit looks very angry and feels a strong urge to strike the rude classmate. While standing nearby, the young man ignores the tension and asks if the guy has seen where the popular girl went today. With an annoyed expression, the big student says that she is only there sometimes while giving a very cold look. Instead of helping, he complains about the brats who always fall in love with girls who look like her. Because of that strange tone, the protagonist feels a bit disgusted and wonders why the guy is being so hostile. Even though he looks small, the tiny mentor pulls out heavy equipment and tells his friend to just hold back for now. Demanding an answer, the hero tells the rude guy to stop talking nonsense and asks again where the target went. Looking quite annoyed, the student with glasses asks why he would even know that specific girl. Surprised by the rude words, the protagonist tells his classmate not to talk badly about his new friend. Staring back with a smug face, the guy remarks that the main hero has fallen quite hard for her. Behind the desk, the boy is suddenly ordered to stand up because his friend has a special surprise. While getting up, he complains about the hassle and prepares for whatever is coming next in the class. Shouting about his special attack, the protagonist jumps forward to grab the rude classmate right away. Using a series of comical slaps, the hero shakes his buddy to teach him a lesson about respect. Inside the room, the beautiful Sunwo asks about the strange sounds of someone getting beaten up. After noticing the girl standing there, the two boys freeze while the protagonist starts to panic. Pointing at his friend, the young man explains that he was punishing him for being very disrespectful. Even though it looks painful, the girl says he can keep hitting him because the guy is always like that. Feeling very confused, the classmate wonders why his own friend is being so mean and aggressive now. Smiling sweetly, the girl reveals that she has actually known this guy since they were very little kids. Since they are childhood friends, the student named Juman confirms the story while looking quite upset. Towards the clear blue sky, the narrator mentions that things are moving in a very strange direction. Resting on the bench, the chubby student apologizes for the hit and the boy says he felt no pain at all. Regarding their past, the protagonist learns they have been buddies since they were only 3 years old. Grinning widely, the glasses kid thinks this is the perfect chance to use that secret strategy from his mentor. To protect his classmate, the big guy says it is better to just give up on the popular girl right now. Behind a crowd of teenagers, the buddy explains that she is super famous and everyone wants a chance with her. Adjusting his frames, the chubby peer mentions that 0 guys have ever succeeded in dating her so far. With all the facts, the hero mentions she has over 2,000 followers on social media, making her a star. Discussing their odds, the nerd says everyone has their own taste and maybe she just hated those other suitors. Since he is serious, the classmate claims there is a much bigger reason to stay away and the boy asks for the truth. Recalling their childhood days, the two were always together since they were small kids in kindergarten. After spending every moment together, they went to the same schools until things changed in middle school. In the quiet hall, a voice suddenly screams at the girl and calls her out in front of everyone. Acting like a boss, the younger companion demands that she goes to buy him some bread because he is hungry. Totally stunned, the child freezes when he sees her terrifying expression during that confrontation. As she turns around slowly, the beauty shows a dark side and the situation feels very wrong to the glasses boy. Staring at the beautiful girl, the protagonist feels that she looks very different from the person he used to know. Sitting on a bench outside the school, the two buddies talk about how the girl has been acting quite strange lately. Looking very nervous, the young man listens as his big friend suggests that it might be time to just give up on her. Showing the large school building, the hero wonders what his friend actually means by saying things feel wrong today. Walking through the quiet hallway, the student admits that he has never felt this kind of weird vibe from her before. While moving past the lockers, the larger companion thinks his own personal opinion is probably not that important. Suddenly stopping in his tracks, the buddy spots something interesting ahead while the protagonist looks very curious. Appearing out of nowhere, the two female students ask if the boys are already close enough to be walking together now. Panicking internally, the student realizes they were caught talking about the beauty and needs a quick lie to survive. Deciding to be brutally honest, the buff companion yells that he was actually bad-mouthing her just a second ago. Hearing that terrible excuse, the main character screams in shock while wondering if his friend has lost his mind. Looking down at the group from above, the girls stand there totally confused by the weird statement they just heard. With a shocked face, the girl asks if they were really saying mean things behind her back while her friend listens. Bursting into loud laughter, the girl in the yellow hoodie says his true character is finally starting to show now. Watching with a serious face, the big companion claims he really gave her a piece of his mind while the hero shouts. Shouting at the top of his lungs, the boy tells the chubby classmate to shut his mouth while waving his jacket around. Falling backward in slow motion, the round student looks totally confused while the protagonist continues his angry outburst. Holding a massive weapon, the muscular mentor looks on while mentioning how he almost used the tool on the noisy boy himself. Watching the weird scene from a distance, the two girls wonder what is going on with those strange guys in the middle of school. Blushing slightly while looking away, the dark-haired beauty seems a bit bothered by the chaos happening right in front of her. Standing tall under the bright afternoon sun, the school building looks peaceful despite the drama happening inside the halls. Walking across the street, the teenager feels like things are going wrong while he worries about the mess he just made today. Complaining about the misunderstanding, the protagonist blames the chubby kid for making his life much more difficult recently. Looking at his back as he walks away, the girl thinks about how she should have dealt with that annoying guy a long time ago. Hearing someone call his name, suddenly the student turns his head while feeling a bit confused about who is following him now. Appearing right behind him with a cheeky smile, the female student asks if he enjoyed talking about her behind her back. Jumping back in total terror, the young man is completely caught off guard while his heart starts racing from the sudden shock. Grinding his teeth, the glasses boy feels frustrated because his classmate always seems to show up at the most awkward moments. Bursting into a sweet and quiet laughter, the lovely classmate finds his reaction very funny while she enjoys teasing him. Talking on the sidewalk, the hero tries to explain his actions while the lady just smiles and tells him she already knows. Laughing at the situation, the girl tells Jin-young that he would never do anything bad to her like the others did before. Asking for a favor, the beauty requests that he walks her home because she has no money for the bus once again today. Looking very stressed, the young man starts sweating because climbing that massive hill sounds like a lot of hard work now. Sitting with a huge weapon, the imaginary mentor admits that things are getting complicated since they spoke behind her back. Turning his head, the protagonist agrees that it is probably best to keep their secret conversations hidden for now. Suddenly noticing something strange, the boy looks surprised as he hears another complaint about the difficult road ahead. Standing on the slope, the long-haired student mentions how much she truly hates walking on these steep uphill paths alone. Adjusting his glasses, the nerd asks if a simple slope like this is actually that difficult for her to climb right now. Explaining her condition, she says that anemia makes her feel weak and very short of breath whenever she walks up a hill. Reaching out her hand, the girl asks her companion to help by pushing her from behind so she can make it up the road. Looking completely shocked, the boy freezes while the beauty tells him to hurry up so they can finally get home together. Trembling with nerves, the main character places his hands on her back and prepares to help his classmate move forward. Pushing with all his strength, the student asks if she feels any better while they slowly move up the steep sidewalk. Blushing deeply, the girl starts to laugh because the physical contact makes her feel a bit ticklish at that moment. Looking very shy, she mentions being extra sensitive when people touch her back while the boy feels extremely awkward now. Sweat drips down his face because the girl keeps making jokes that are way too much for him to handle. Staring intensely through his glasses, he starts to wonder what would happen if things actually went his way. He imagines a future where they are much closer and she asks him to be a little more gentle with her. Maybe one day he will carry her on his back while walking up this hill during a very romantic sunset. His muscular friend claps his hands and says that the thought is incredibly sweet while calling him by his name. Blushing deeply, the boy thinks that a little bit of daydreaming is totally fine as long as he does not go too far. Closing his eyes with a happy smile, he enjoys the fantasy until a voice suddenly calls out his name from reality. The girl screams at him to slow down because he is pushing her too hard while she feels like she might pass out. Realizing that he totally zoned out, the student apologizes while the poor girl tries to catch her breath. Looking around at the surroundings, the young man notices how high they have climbed during their long walk together. Standing on the bridge, he looks at the city view while the tired student leans over to rest her legs for a bit. He thinks about how nice the open area feels and realizes that this is the place where she actually lives. Turning his head with a surprised look, he hears her speak about the beautiful spot they just found together. Looking at the sunset, they both realize it is their first time seeing such a pretty view from this high point. The girl mentions that someone with her health condition should not be climbing such tall hills, and he simply agrees. Blushing deeply, the girl complains about being tired and asks if he wants to die while he says sorry for the long walk. Standing there in silence, the boy with glasses feels incredibly awkward while trying to find the right words to say next. Looking out at the city sunset, the young lady decides to forgive him this one time since he showed her such a nice view. Sweating nervously, the student watches her closely because he cannot believe how intense this moment feels for him. Fixing her long dark hair, the beauty smiles gently and mentions how everything looks very pretty from this high spot. Swallowing hard, the protagonist feels his heart racing while the pressure of being alone with her starts to take over. Thinking back to a conversation with a friend, he remembers being told that there was something weird about this girl. Staring at her back, the young man realizes he can only see her clearly while everyone else still looks like a stone. Looking away for a second, the teenager tries to calm his racing thoughts before he says something even more embarrassing. Calling out her name softly, he makes the girl turn around with a surprised expression as the orange sky glows behind them. Blushing a little more, she admits to talking about him with their mutual friend, which makes the boy feel quite confused. Wondering if she was talking trash about him, the student asks for the truth while he tries to defend his own reputation. Glancing to the side, the girl mentions finding out that he and the other guy were actually childhood friends long ago. Looking very sincere, the boy confesses that he only asked those questions because he truly wanted to know more about her. Frozen in shock, the young lady stares back at him with wide eyes as his honest words catch her completely off guard. Standing on the path, the boy explains that it looked like they were talking behind her back, but he never said anything bad. Looking very flustered while scratching his head, the student says he only wanted to avoid any big misunderstandings between them. Staring back with a very blank expression, the beautiful girl stays quiet while the sun continues to set in the background. Smiling gently, the young lady tells him not to worry about those things because she has already forgotten the whole situation. Looking at the tall apartment buildings in the distance, the popular girl suggests that it is finally time to head back home. Wondering if she can handle the steep road, the protagonist asks if going downhill is okay, and she says it is no problem at all. Waving her hand while walking away, the girl thanks him for the detour and for walking her home safely during the evening. Standing alone on the sidewalk, the teenager looks completely stunned while a small cloud of confusion floats above his head. Rubbing his chin, the muscular mentor Jason thinks to himself that the girl's true reaction is actually very hard to read. Turning to his buff companion, the glasses kid asks if being that honest was really necessary during their short conversation. Making a serious face, the large man explains that being truthful is good, but sometimes staying quiet is the better choice. Walking away into the distance, the girl seems lost in her own thoughts while the protagonist watches her leave the area. Looking down with a soft expression, the beauty seems to be thinking about something important that happened recently. Standing in the shadows, the boy admits to himself that he truly just wanted to know more about the mysterious girl. Blushing slightly while walking, the young lady thinks about how the boy named Jin Young always manages to surprise her heart. Walking down the street, the beautiful girl moves away while showing her back to the camera as the sun shines. Suddenly falling to the ground, she breathes heavily because she is totally out of breath from the long walk. Back at school, two friends argue about some stolen bread and the girl threatens him in a very aggressive way. Showing the massive school building once again, we see the place where all this crazy drama usually happens every day. Widening his eyes in shock, the muscular mentor looks surprised as if he just saw something totally unexpected and weird. Walking through the hallway, the glasses boy tells his tiny friend that he is going to play soccer for a bit. Encouraging the student, the small mentor tells him to sweat and become a real man during the sports match. Suddenly realizing something, the young man looks shocked while his eyes go wide behind his round glasses. Looking down at his feet, he notices that his shoelace came loose and might cause him to trip while walking. Squatting down in the middle of the hallway, the protagonist starts to tie his shoe to avoid any accidents. Hearing a confused voice from above, the boy looks up to see who is talking to him right now in the path. Standing right in front of him, a beautiful woman with long hair asks why he decided to squat in the way. Looking very annoyed, the 26-year-old lady complains that she almost tripped and fell because of him. Trembling with nerves, the student stares at the teacher while feeling completely overwhelmed by her presence. Pushing his head down, the woman tells him to keep his eyes on the floor and stop looking at her like that. Looking down at the boy on his knees, the girl asks why he is acting so strange while he stays silent on the floor. Staring with a cold gaze, the young lady explains that looking from below makes her feel very uncomfortable and ugly. Calling him a punk, she mentions that the whole situation is actually quite embarrassing and annoying for her to handle. Walking away from the hallway, she warns the student not to stop suddenly while they are moving through the school. Staying quiet on the ground, the main character looks back with a confused expression because he does not understand her. Seeing her as a gray statue once again, the protagonist thinks that her words do not affect him since she is just a rock. Reflecting on his childhood, the teenager remembers how the fear of rejection turned every female into a lifeless stone. To avoid being hurt by others, the young man decided to spend his nights studying hard while sitting at his desk alone. Exercising at the gym became part of his routine as he focused on self-improvement to become a better version of himself. Kicking the ball with great power, the student shows off the results of his hard training on the green soccer field. Scoring a magnificent goal, the boy leaves the goalkeeper flying through the air as the ball hits the back of the net. Cheering loudly for their teammate, the other students are happy to have such a talented player in their class today. Preparing for the next match, the group wants to crush Class 5 while the goalie looks quite tired and defeated. Watching from the sidelines, two girls notice the commotion on the field and wonder what all the noise is about. Observing the players, the popular student mentions that the room will smell like sweat because of the intense game. Down on the soccer field, we see Jin-young running with the ball while the other students watch the intense match. Watching from the sidelines, the girls notice how well the glasses boy is playing because he looks totally different. Sitting on the stairs, a group of fangirls cheers loudly as they agree that the protagonist really stands out today. Staring at the game, the dark-haired beauty looks a bit lost in thought while she watches him move across the grass. Looking from above, the students chat about how his lack of interest in romance is actually part of his mysterious charm. Hearing all the noise, Sookyung mentions his cool and sexy vibe while her friend complains about the cringe fangirls nearby. Turning to her companion, the girl in the yellow hoodie wonders if calling him sexy is a bit too much for a nerd like him. Thinking silently for a moment, the popular student keeps her eyes on the boy while holding a lollipop in her hand. Recalling his past behavior, the girl remembers how he used to shake and act totally weird whenever she was around him. Smiling to herself, she finally admits that he might actually be cool and sexy after seeing him play so well today. While the school music starts to play, the match finally ends and everyone prepares to head back inside for the day. Celebrating their big victory, the teammates thank the glasses kid because he was the main reason they won the game. Feeling completely drenched in sweat, the young man decides to find a sink so he can rinse off before going to class. Reaching for the metal handle, the protagonist turns on the water to cool down after all that hard work on the field. Bending over the outdoor sink, the tired student splashes his face while enjoying the cold water on his skin. Sweating from the intense match, the protagonist hears a compliment about his very impressive shot on the field. Standing nearby, a chubby boy with glasses admits he never thought someone would actually score against his defense. Surprised by the praise, the hero calls out the name Juman while adding that he played as a great keeper today. Looking quite upset, the goalkeeper claims to be aggrieved while the main character asks what the problem is this time. Asking about the dark side of soccer, the classmate gets a quick response from the boy who says he does not care to know. Explaining the harsh truth, the student mentions how the goalkeeper always takes the blame when the team loses the game. Complaining further, the boy says blocking 10 shots means nothing if you let a single one pass through the net. Admitting his true feelings, the goalie says this is exactly why he does not like the protagonist at all right now. Leaning in with a frown, the student repeats that failing to stop the ball made him feel very annoyed with his pal. Suddenly, an angry muscular spirit appears holding an axe while the hero tells his buddy Jason to calm down immediately. Walking toward the sink, the teenager places his hand under the cold running water to prepare a little surprise. Splashing the liquid forward, the young man says he has a present while the target gets hit directly in the face. Reacting to the sudden chill, the chubby boy shouts that the water is freezing as he tries to wipe his eyes. Starting a big water fight, the two friends insult each other while throwing a spray all over the schoolyard. Watching the mess from a distance, the two girls look totally confused while one of them mentions chasing shadows. While hearing some loud noises nearby, the two girls wonder why the protagonist and his friend are shouting so much today. Curious about the weird situation, the dark-haired beauty suggests they go and check out what the boys are doing right now. Standing on the school grounds, the pair of friends look completely exhausted and soaked after their intense water fight. Feeling very gross, the main character points his finger while complaining that he is totally drenched because of his buddy. Without a care in the world, the chubby classmate starts taking off his shirt while telling his friend to just stop whining. Getting even more annoyed, the teenager begins to remove his own top while promising to settle the score after classes end. Approaching the shirtless duo, the classmates ask what they are doing while mentioning that the school bell already rang. Caught totally off guard, the hero freezes in place while showing off his toned body to the surprised female students. Blushing deeply at the unexpected sight, the pair of girls can only stare in silence because they feel quite overwhelmed. Observing the strange sight, the popular student and her companion stay frozen while looking at the shirtless teenagers. Turning around slowly, the round friend looks back at the girls with a very confused and blank expression on his face. Finally feeling a wave of disgust, the young ladies make a sour face as they realize how weird the situation actually looks.